Hey, what's going on? It's the Mexican coming to you guys with my official recap for Week 4 of the Detroit Red Wings season. And boy, oh boy, what a week it was. There was an up, then a down, a pretty big down, then a pretty big up. So let's get into it right away with the first game they played this week on October 30th, where they went to New York and faced off against the Islanders, where they won 4-3. This was, I said this in the last two recaps, I think, where Detroit has had a big problem coming out of the gate starting. You know, they've come out of the gate slow, not very defensively good, and they always end up going down. Like this whole week, they were down by 2-0, at least at one point in the game. And it's not a winning formula, obviously, but this whole week, the theme was comebacks. And goddamn, why can't we win a fucking face-off? We have 4 face-off specialists. Like, I guess technically 3. Larkin, Compher, and Copp. You know, Villano was really good on the face-off. Villano, I think, was the best face-off guy we had all week. And there's some other guys in there, but boy, were the face-offs bad this week. Holy. But anyways, getting into the face stats. Shots on goal, 40-36 for New York. They came out swinging really quickly. Face-offs, 51.5% to Detroit's 48.5%. Power plays, 1 for 2 for the Islanders, 0 for 2 for Detroit. Power play struggled big this week. Penalty minutes, 14-4 for the Islanders. Hits, 13-8 in favor of the Islanders. And block shots, 16-12 in favor of the Islanders. So it was a very Islander-heavy game, but Detroit came out swinging in halfway through the second. And it was all over from there, realistically. More or less, it was an OT, so I can't really say it was all over from there. But once we got to overtime, it was over. The Islanders do not look good in 3-on-3. At least they did in that game. So Islanders fans, you can go ahead and tell me if that's normal for your team. But getting to the scoring, there was no score after the first. After the second, though, going into the second, Cizikas scores his goal on the backhand. Nice. It was a shorthanded goal. It was a bad bounce and a bad defensive play, but yeah, it was a shorthanded goal. I can't really say anything about it. It was a nice goal. Like, I'll give him that. Third period, Nelson scores, making it 2-0 for the Rangers, the Islanders, from Dobson. Sorry about that. I was just dying. I had some popcorn earlier, and it's not helping. But Sprong gets a scoring off for Detroit. This is his third of the season, and it was the first one they actually had to shoot. Beautiful toe drag release play. It was assisted from Rasmussen and Walman. After that, Walman with a beautiful wrist shot from the point with an assist from Seider and Raymond. Walman's looking fantastic. Then Detroit takes the lead with the goal from JT Compher from Seider and Copp. Seider gets 2 points on the night so far. That's really all he gets so far this game. But then Horvat comes in, gets his 4th of the season with an assist from Barzal and Dobson. And after that, we're tied going into overtime. And it was pretty much all Detroit for OT. And this was... I can't really put it all on Horvat's shoulders because it was a bouncing puck. He couldn't necessarily just get a hold of it. And massive credit to Seider. If Seider didn't pinch in over there when he needed to, this goal never would have happened. So, Lucas Raymond nets the empty netter, getting his 3rd of the season. Not an empty net, it was an open net, essentially. It was a beautiful play by Compher. Compher could have shot it, but he saw Raymond had the better angle, a wide open net. Bing, bang, boom. Perfect fucking shot into the open net. Raymond gets his 3rd of the season with the assist from Compher, obviously. Red Wings win it 4-3 in OT. And... other than that, like I said earlier, the Red Wings just struggled to come out swinging. They have for a little while. And that was the theme of the next game, too. This one was definitely more of a down, for sure. Detroit just didn't necessarily... their offense just didn't look good. In this game, realistically, Detroit should have come out with at least a point in this game. The only actual goal scored by Florida, it was a muffin of a goal. It was a boggled fucking glove, and it just bounced around. It was a fluke goal, realistically. Nobody earned that goal. So the face-off was horrible here. So face stats, 27-22 shots on goal in favor of Florida. Face-off 66.1% to Detroit's 33.9%. Yeah, not good. Power play 0 for 5 for both teams, which is not good for Detroit. You know, Detroit has the fourth best power play right now. At least I think they still do. It's top 5, I think, still. And Florida has the worst penalty kill in the league. Should have gotten at least a goal on that. Penalty minutes 10 for each. Hits 21-9 in favor of Detroit. Block shots 20-11 in favor of Detroit as well. So, yeah, like I said, the scoring, Lorenz, it was a muffin of a goal. Fluke goal 100%. But they don't ask how, they ask how many. That gets Florida up. Then Lundell comes in with the empty netter, and it's all over from there. And this game, I can't blame it on Reimer. I won't blame it on Reimer. It wasn't his fault. Should he maybe have gloved it better? Yes. But at the end of the day, that shit happens to even the best goaltenders. And 35-year-old Reimer, you can't expect an incredible amount. So he looked good the entire game. Bobrovsky stonewalled Detroit for the entire game as well. And that's all I really have to say. There wasn't much about this game. It was a boring-ass game. But then things picked up the last night. Yes, they did. Last night, Detroit went up against the Boston Bruins, number 1 in the Atlantic, and I think number 3 in the league, or 4. I think they're number 3. Or 2. One of the two. So, they go up against Boston. Remember, Boston beat them pretty decently in their last outing. Boston coming into this not having a regulation loss, still looking pretty strong, but they are without 2 of their top D. So, you know, take that as what it is. But, you know, I'm just saying, Detroit was up without Christian Fischer and Robbie Fabry, so, you know, it was a 1-for-1 comparison there, realistically. But, yes, Detroit wins this 5-4, handing Boston to their first regulation loss this season. And it was a pretty dominant effort by Detroit. You won't see it by the face stats too much. Shots on goal, 40-30 in favor of Detroit. Face-offs, struggled in the face-off circle again. 46.8% to Boston's 53.2%. Power plays, 2 for 8 for Detroit, 1 for 4 for Boston. You'll see a lot of Boston players online saying that they won because of the penalties, but at the same time, only 2 of Detroit's 5 goals were on the power play. So, can't really say much about it. Penalty minutes 32-20 for Boston, obviously. Hits 20-16 for Detroit. Block shots 22-16 for Boston as well. Getting into the goals, first period, Boston, you know, scared a lot of Red Wings fans. James Van Riemsdyk it was a weird goal. It looked like Husso had it, but then it kind of swiveled behind him a bit, and, you know, JVR seen it. It was an assist from Pasternak and Zach, a really weird muffin of a goal. Then Poitras, I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right, probably not. He does not look like a rookie. Yes, if you're wondering, yes, he is 100% still a rookie, but he does not look like it. He nets his 4th of the season from Shattenkirk and Van Riemsdyk. He's looking like Bergeron light, honestly. I'm not a fan of the Bruins, obviously being a Red Wings fan. Even just then, I don't care for the Bruins. But he looks like Bergeron was one of the best centers in the history of the NHL, realistically, and he looks like Bergeron light. So, but then Raymond gets his 4th of the season from Perron and Larkin, and boy, oh boy, was that a beautiful goal too. I love that Raymond's starting to shoot it more, and he's making fantastically smart plays. Next, we go into the second period. Walman ties it up with just a beautiful slap shot on the power play. Boy, was that a beautiful one. It was over 90 miles per hour, I'm pretty sure. And wow, was it a beautiful one-timer. It looked like Ullmark purposely got out of the way from that, because if he didn't, it was going straight into his face mask, and it probably would have broken it. But after that, Coyle comes in, makes 3-2 Boston. From DeBrusk and Wotherspoon, and this is where Detroit fans are kind of like, oh no, is it happening? Are we going to shut down again? Are we going to... Because this is how I was. Kind of. You know, that's one thing about this team right now is that this current Detroit team does not give up when they're down. If this was last year's Detroit team, or the team before that, they would have just shut down. But there was some concern because you don't like being down by any going into the third period. But our fears would not be recognized, alas, as the captain of the Detroit Red Wings, Dylan Larkin. Always trust in your captain, ladies and gentlemen. He comes in. They spent a lot of time in the offensive zone, did that Larkin Raymond to break it line. And even Mickey Redmond was talking and saying, oh, it looks like they're out of gas. But Raymond, thankfully, he had the foresight to not just dump it. He carried it, held it, seen Larkin coming up with as much speed as he could muster. Then Larkin comes in, and I'm not 100% convinced that Raymond wasn't just trying to get off the ice. And I'm not 100% convinced that Larkin wasn't just trying to get off the ice. I think Raymond saw Larkin, passed it to him, Larkin grabbed it, and Larkin was just like, all right, either this is going in one way or another, this is going into the fucking net. And boy, oh boy, did he make that on the fucking blocker side. Larkin loves the blocker side. Then not too long after that, David Perron, that's his third of the season. And this was easily Perron's best game to date. That Larkin goal was assisted by Raymond DeBrincat, by the way. But Perron, this was easily Perron's best game of the night. He looked like the Perron that Detroit signed, with an assist from Compher and Petrie. And then Andrew Copp makes it 5-3 Detroit, with an assist from Compher and Perron. Wide open net, almost identical to what... Not necessarily identical, but it was kind of roughly the same situation. Compher took it, took the shot, hit off the post or the crossbar, bounced out. This is why you always crash the net until that whistle goes. You never stop playing. Andrew Copp goes towards the net, crashes it, gets the rebound, nets it. 5-3 Detroit, but unfortunately... Pasternak, never bet against your captain, never bet against your stars. Pasternak comes in, nets it off the power play for his 9th of the season from Pottris, I'm saying, and Lindholm. I believe that was Lindholm's first point of the season, so whatever. But yeah, it was a pretty good game. It's games like this that really make you look at Detroit's lineup and be like, they could really make the playoffs. This lineup's not a Stanley Cup lineup by any means, but this team could 100% make the playoffs. And even, second, maybe even third round. They've got a lot of playoff guys here. Copp, Compher, Perron, Sprong, Shutout. They've got quite a few guys that have been in the playoffs. Hell, Larkin was in the playoffs his first year. So, this is going to get... the Atlantic Division is such a mess right now. I'm going to make a video on that at some point. But that is my official recap for Week 4 of the Detroit Red Wings season. Hope you guys did enjoy. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments below about what you think of Detroit's overall play as of late. And how you think... is this sustainable? How you think they can... continue this. Detroit goes to 7-4-1 in the season, and it's looking good so far. That's all I'm going to say. It's looking good, and we'll leave it at that. So, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is, as always, the Mex-Canadian, and I will talk to you guys later. Adios.